Lovely. So if you're not already flat on your backs, if you'd like to come to lying down and extend the whole body out flat. You can separate your feet, arms away from the body. And take time to just arrive. There's no hurry. And see what it's like to become completely absorbed with the sensations of the back of your body. You could start with the heels, noticing how they rest into your mat. So legs are extended, completely flat, unless that's uncomfortable for you. And then coming up, tracing sensation up the back of the lower legs. Noticing sensation here and how the calf muscles rest into the floor. On the back of the thighs and the buttocks. And really take time to notice if there's a difference between the way in which the right leg and the left leg settle into the floor. Just allowing yourself to breathe naturally, breathe freely. And then continuing your tracing of sensation up the rest of the back of the body, the sacrum, probably your lumbar spine leaves a little gap from the floor. And then you'll meet the floor again with the back of your ribs, shoulders, arms, and head. And as you do this self-body scan, quite briefly, are you aware of places where you're holding? You're holding on a bit, maybe a little bit of tension. And can you give yourself just a little bit more to the floor, to the earth? And notice the body breathing. We're not trying to change anything or force anything. All we're doing is noticing sensations in the body as the body breathes you. Where does the body feel free with the breath? And where perhaps do you notice that the breath gets a little bit caught up, a little bit of resistance perhaps? And take your time, just lying here, feeling and breathing in the morning light. Notice if any desire desire or urge for your practice bubbles up for you. What's brought you to the mat this morning? And can you make that into an intention? Very simple. Just one word perhaps that can drop into your body but also into your subconscious. And this time as you breathe in, actively taking a fuller breath. And pause at the top of the breath and then exhale with a long sigh. And continue in your own time, feeling yourself giving your body to the earth with each sigh, with each exhalation. Where do you feel it most? And just taking one more in your own time. And when you're ready, if you're not there already, standing your feet on the floor. And finding that perfect spot so that you're not feeling like you're pulling the lower back away, but neither are you flattening it too much. So you're just allowing yourself to have that soft contact with the mat, your belly's soft. And can you bring your attention to your eyes? Just notice how you feel in all the tissues around and behind the eyes, keeping them open, aware of what you can see directly above you. And then in your own time, very slowly moving your eyes, but not your head, from side to side. You might pause when you get to one side. You may pause when you come to the top. You might pause at the other side. And take it really slow. This is brilliant for all of the tissues and muscles around the eyes, and it can really refresh your eyes. And what you may notice is that sometimes the movement of the eyes feels quite fluid. And sometimes the movement of the eyes might feel a little bit stuttered, a little bit jagged. Can you just notice for now? And if you're anything like me and you find that there's a lot of stuttering, you might find you start tensing up a little bit and trying too hard. So what might it be like to soften? Breathing naturally. And then at some point, and this may come as some relief, you'll start moving your head slowly with the eyes, but use your eyes to initiate the movement of the head. Very slowly moving the head from side to side. Simply observing. If you find it easier to roll to the left or easier to roll to the right. And remembering that the slower you go, the more beneficial, both for your neck and also for your nervous system. Can you really feel the weight of your head pouring into the mat, the back of the head, round to each side of the head? Wonderful massage. And then at some point when you're ready, allowing your knees to join in with the movement. So your knees are going to roll with the eyes and the head in the same direction for now. And you're just breathing naturally. There's no need to synchronize these movements with the breath unless you want to. And you can allow as much of your body to move as you like. You might notice when your knees come over to the side that some of the spine peels off the mat, and that's great. Notice the movement coming right up to your ribs. Allow the movement to flow through you, to move through you. Fantastic. And then if it's not too much for your concentration, allow your knees to start moving the opposite direction to the head and the eyes. And if it feels nice, try sliding your feet wider apart, maybe even as far apart as your mat is wide. Again, simply observing how the movement can flow right up the body, so you feel the movement of the spine, the ribs, the neck and the head, all directed by the eyes, and then the knees go opposite. Imagine you're in a warm ocean, not too warm, some warm water. And moving freely and oilily with the current. All those beautiful colours of weed and sunlight around you. Amazing. Just take a couple more to each side. And then at some point, slide your feet away again and just feel the whole body resting. Breathing freely. Now, if you'd like to stand your feet up on the floor again, this time hip distance apart or a little bit wider if that's comfortable. Feet are parallel. And we're going to bring our focus back to the eyes. But this time you're just going to look as far up as if you're looking past your eyebrows, trying to look to the wall behind you, but without moving the head. And then slowly tracing what you can see over the ceiling. And then bringing your eyes to look as far past your nose. So you're tracing up and down now rather than from side to side. With exactly that same attention on whether the movement of the eyes is smooth or whether it becomes a little bit obstructed or glitchy. And some of you may find it even aches the eyes a little bit if you're not used to using your eye muscles so much. Soften the face. So you're really trying not to move the head, and I know that's difficult. You're only isolating, for now, the movement of the eyes. Noticing how you can get caught up in this, but also how you can soften. And you may find as you soften around the eyes that the whole of the body responds and gives itself a little bit more to the earth. Fantastic. And then at some point begin to roll over the back of your head. So you can look a little bit further behind you. So you're arching your neck, opening your throat. And then slide the head back and draw your chin into your chest a little as you look further. To be sliding the back of your head on the mat here. Fantastic, really good for the neck, for the cervical spine. So you're not going to move far, obviously, but I can see that's lovely, Diane. Your chin is moving up slightly and then moving back gently. And what I'm interested in now is that as you do this, if you really allow your skeleton to settle, you might have already noticed that as you lift your chin and look behind you, that your lower back arches a little from the floor. And as you draw your chin back into the chest, directing this with the eyes, your lower back flattens. You might even feel this in the soles of your feet. So a movement we initiate with the eyes is traveling through the spine and tilting your pelvis. So it's the pelvic tilting that we do in every class, but you're initiating it, this gentle movement with the eyes. And notice the contact of your feet with the floor. Do you feel that you press into your feet more at any stage in this movement? If, incidentally, you're just not feeling what I'm saying, you don't feel the conversation move down the spine, please don't worry. Just continue moving your eyes and your head. And I'll leave you just a little bit longer to explore this soothing movement. Breathing freely. And then when you're ready, just coming to a still point and sliding your feet away again. And having a rest and a digest. In your own time, you might like to bring your knees into your chest to do this. We're going to meet in a sitting position, so just roll yourself slowly over. Hello, everybody. We're going to sit with our hands behind us and our knees bent, feet mat distance apart again. And we're going to do some of the movements we already did on our backs, but now seeing how they feel sitting. So just allowing your knees to gently drop to the left. And then your knees drop to the right. Now, sorry, what I should have said, as you do this, please keep your eyes looking straight ahead of you. So we're not bringing the eyes into the movement for the moment. But it is interesting to notice how far up the spine and into the ribs you feel this very gentle rotation in the hips. And again, noticing if the movement's free or if it feels a little bit restricted. We're trying to allow as much movement to flow up the body as possible. Looking good. And then at some point, allow your eyes and head to follow the same direction as the knees. You might even look over that shoulder a bit to bring a little bit more twist in. And just moving from side to side. Slidey glidey. When I do this, I start moving down the mat. I don't know if ever anyone else is finding that. Start coming off the mat completely. And then at some point, like we did before, moving the eyes in the opposite direction. So my knees are rolled to the left. I'm looking right over my right shoulder. And as your knees lift, you bring your head back to center. And then take this the other way. And you know, you might notice that in parts of the movement, it just feels really good and you want to stay there a bit longer and explore the sensation. You know, like you might really enjoy the feeling around the shoulder blades. And slow is good, less is more. Just a little bit more of this. Noticing how much of your, you're all sliding down your mats. How much of your body is having a little dance with you. Okie doke. And then if you'd like to come to lying down again, have a rest. And the instructions for the next bit might need a little bit of focus. You might want to look at me. We did it on Monday morning if you were there. You're going to lie completely extended with your arms now out in a T shape. So coming straight out of the shoulders and your palms are facing down. Did I say that already? Lovely. So the only complicated thing is that we're going to flip the hand as we move the arm. So we start sliding the right arm on the floor towards the ear, as far as it can go, and you can follow it with the eyes. And at some point, you're going to need to turn over onto your palm. Turn the palm to face the ceiling in order to bring the arm closer around the head. And then you bring the arm back and at some point take the palm to the floor. So I know it sounds much more confusing than it is. You just basically rotate using the opening of the palm to gently rotate into the shoulder joint. In one direction and the other. So as you move the arm and you turn your palm towards the ceiling, rolling onto the back of your hand, you're externally rotating the shoulder. And as you choose your moment to turn the palm down again, you're internally rotating in the shoulder. So it's very subtle. But then we're going to make it a little bit more complicated. You're going to start following your hands so much with your head that you begin to roll over onto the right side of your body a little bit, and your legs might come a little bit with you. And then you roll it back again. Following as far as you can go. So you find that you're spiraling the whole spine. Yeah, do look at me if it's confusing. You're moving the arm, following it with your eyes and your head. You might even find that the left arm comes over. And you roll a little bit onto your belly. And then you roll back onto your back. So if you're not used to these Feldenkrais type movements or somatic type movements, they can feel more complicated than they are, especially because my instructions probably aren't the best. But actually all you're doing is using the rotation of your shoulder and arm to propel the body gently over onto the belly. And you bring that left knee with you. And take your time, and it's just really quite sensual, really quite pleasurable and easy to do this. The reason you're moving your head to look at your hands is we're trying to get the whole spine in conversation. From the tailbone all the way up to where the spine meets the skull. And at some point, you might find that you come all the way up to sitting. Just sliding your way. You need to bring your legs with you. Slide your knees into your chest as you roll your way up. And this will be accessible for some people, and it won't necessarily be accessible for everybody. Don't worry. So you're drawing your knees into your chest a bit more now as you roll your way up. So really, this is just an excuse to roll around on the floor. And any of the yoga teachers that I know who've been practicing for years and teaching for years, this is what they like doing best. It's just rolling around on the floor. Forget all the big poses. Just tune into the whole body. Rolling and feeling. It's a bit like being a baby again. We're going all the way back. And I would like you to notice as you roll over and you come up to this seated position, do you need to push a lot into the left hand? Or do you actually find you barely touch the ground with your left hand to come up? Just because of the momentum of the movement flowing through the whole body. This is wonderful spiraling therapeutic movement for the spine. The whole pelvis is active. Shoulders are engaged. Just take a few more. I just feel like carrying on, but I probably better give you more to do in the class. It's looking really good. If you're somebody who suffers from quite a lot of tightness in the hips, this is quite a lovely way of being gentle to your hips and encouraging them into lovely range of movement without force. Wonderful. Okay. And then lying down flat before we come to the other side and simply noticing each side of the body and if there's any difference. And taking a few lovely breaths. I had my parents come to a Feldenkrais class last night, which was quite funny, with Dan Big Elblum, those of you who know him. So my mum loved it, and my dad was like, I can't follow the instructions. Okay. And then we're going to take all that to the other side. So arms are out in a T shape, palms are facing down. And the focus now comes to the left hand and arm, and you're following that left hand with the eyes, keeping the palm on the floor until you need to flip it over, following it around over your head, but not trying to do any more than that now. Just sliding the arm into the body and up over the head. Little bit of a roll of the head, trying to follow it with the eyes, but you won't be able to too much until we start bringing the rest of the body into the movement. Following your fingers right over your head if you can, with the eyes. Lovely. And the contact with the floor, with the palm of the hand and the back of the hand, is very grounding, very settling. Lovely, Catherine. I can see you really spiraling there. So you know what's coming. You might really love just this movement isolated into the shoulder and the eyes following. Or at some stage you might begin to follow the hand with your eyes. And it comes all the way over as you roll. Oh, I've just got really confused about right and left. Did we start with the left arm last time? No. That's right. You're going to roll over onto, yeah. Just keep going. I'm just chatting to myself. At some point, you'll roll over onto the left side of your body. Keep moving and rolling, and whenever you want to, allow your knees to help you move onto the side of the body. Don't be in any hurry to sit up. We've got ages. We're training the body and the mind together to eventually make smooth, glidey movements. And whenever you want to, you can begin to roll all the way over and see if you can draw your knees in and sit up. No hurry. And actually what's really nice is you can roll from side to side. You could engage both arms and see if you can slide and roll from side to side. And you may find it's easier on one side than the other. So you're brilliant. All of you are doing, everyone I can see is doing absolutely brilliantly here. Lovely, Liz. A little bit longer. Notice how you feel it in the ribs, in the shoulders, the pelvis. Only coming up as far as feels right for you. And trying less. Try less. Make less effort. It's not often in life we're asked to make less effort, but it's wonderful for our nervous systems to feel safe. Okay, my lovelies, at some stage just come to lying flat. Legs extended if that's comfortable for you, and feel the body. Good morning, Diana. We're going to meet up in an easy seat when you're ready. So if you'd like to bring your knees in towards you, maybe take some time to circle a little bit on the lower back to gently roll from side to side. And if a cross-legged position, an easy cross-legged position is just not your thing, you could have your legs extended. And we're going to take the pelvic tilting, that gentle movement of the spine, like we'd normally do on our backs, in a seated position. So it might take a little bit of a while to feel into it. So I like to press my hands inside my knees, inside my thighs. Roll the shoulders back to releasing tension in the shoulders. And then allow a breath in to tilt the pelvis forwards, to allow your belly to roll forwards, your chest to open, your throat to open. And then allow a breath out to draw the pelvis back. Notice how the back of your ribs presses behind you and your chin comes into your chest. And I actually pull on the knees here to encourage more of an engagement of the core muscles of the abdomen. And that's all you're going to do, gentle tilting. And if your legs are extended, as I can see a couple of you, it's absolutely fine to notice how your knees need to bend to allow for the movement in the spine. And can you feel yourself rolling over your sitting bones? So with Dan Gelblum, a lovely Feldenkrais teacher that I was with last night, we did this on a chair, so just feet on the floor. But he told us to imagine that we were sitting on a clock face, which is a slightly weird thing to imagine, but so that when you roll forwards, you're rolling towards the number 6. And as you roll back onto your tailbone, you're rolling to 12. If that visualization helps you, have a try with it. And just as in all of these movements, notice how much of the body is involved. Notice where the movement flows and moves in the body. And you're absolutely welcome to continue like this. This is great. We're gently waking up our abdominal core as well as continuing with the spinal work. But some of you might like a little bit stronger work for the core, in which case, as you draw back, lift your crossed ankles up in front of you and release your hands, half boat. Change the cross of your ankles as you come down. So we're now moving into less somatics, less Feldenkrais, more asana-based yoga practice. Moving into half boat, Ardha Navasana. You can spread your fingers and your toes to enliven. Lovely. And some of you may find This half boat is absolutely plenty enough for your core, and you're beginning to stress in parts of the body that don't need you to. And some of you, in which case carry on, but invite softness. And some of you might like to begin to straighten out your legs a little. Coming into full boat, full Navasana, but in such a way that it doesn't feel like huge effort, but part of the flow of the movement. Just a few more rounds. So I'm not inviting you to stay for ages in your boat. We're not having a massive workout here, but to keep moving. Lovely. Lovely, Jane. Let's take 2 more. And then gently lower your feet to the floor, soles of your feet together. And slide them as far away as you need to in order to be able to just gently release yourself forwards. So this is more like a yin style butterfly pose where we'll stay not for too long, but for a few breaths. And you shouldn't feel any twinging in the lower back. This should be soothing, gentle opening for the back of the body. As you allow yourself to soften, and incidentally at 6 o'clock tonight, it'll be more of a yin than restorative practice, but a lovely one with lots of space. As you soften, notice your tongue. Is it pinned up into the roof of your mouth, or can you release it? You might even want to separate your jaws ever so delicately. Can you soften the back of your neck and your shoulders and the wrists of your hands? And breathe and feel every out-breath as a way of really dropping you a little bit more towards the earth and finding stillness. And coming to the top of a lovely full breath in now, and pausing and exhale, take a long sigh. Please take 2 more like that. Wonderful. And then very gently reassembling your spine as you draw yourself in. Don't be in a hurry. Bring your head last and use your hands to bring your knees together. Wonderful. Everyone okay? Yeah, good, thank you. And then rolling over onto your bellies. And if you need some kind of cushion under your pelvis, please lie on a blanket. And take your hands underneath your forehead, one on top of the other. And breathe into the front of the body here. And I would like you to imagine that your neck goes from the inside of your skull all the way down to where your shoulder blades meet. So halfway down, kind of right down into the ribs. So your neck is really long. And with this visualization of a long neck, just begin very gently as you breathe in to lift your head and your hands off the floor. They don't need to come far. And then come back down with an exhalation. And continue in your own time. Not forcing anything, but trying to imagine this really long neck so that the movement starts from lower down the spine, not just in your neck. Can you take 3 more like that, please? Remembering less is more. Beautiful. And then resting. And then curling your toes under. Curling your toes under. And this time keep your head down on your hands. Keep the hands on the floor. But as you inhale, lift your knees up and they won't travel far. And exhale, drop your knees. That's all you're going to do for a few breaths. Lovely. I learnt this from Pete Blackaby, another great yoga teacher he's married to a Feldenkrais teacher, so he doesn't believe in static poses anymore, he only believes in movement, but he's a little bit radical. I like to do both. So do you notice as you lift your knees from the floor that certain muscles become engaged? Maybe in the legs, maybe feel them in the back a little. Okay, and then rest, slide your toes away again. We're going to try here to lift the knees and then the feet off the floor. And then drop the feet and the knees down. So you're not coming far, but you start with the knees and then the feet follow. Drop the knees and the feet. Lift the knees and then the feet. And you're probably feeling this now more in your lower back. Notice which parts of the body are firing up. Maybe you feel it more in one leg than the other, more in one buttock than the other. Okay, just taking 2 more. Move with the knees first and then follow with the feet. You'll find it probably easier. And then take a lovely rest. Allow all your muscles to become very soft. What I'd like us to do is bring the head and the legs into the same movement, but this time keep your hands pressed to the floor. So you can lift the knees, and as you lift the feet, begin to lift your head. Remember your long neck and follow with your eyes. And then come back down again. Start with the knees, then the feet and the head, long neck, and follow with your eyes. And then gently come down again. And take a few rounds, and this is a very gentle way of enlivening all the muscles of the back. Not pushing hard, we're not trying to come into the biggest arch possible, we are not seals. And I can see some of you flipping yourselves around a little bit, going really fast. Can you try and just see what it's like to slow it down? See what it's like to slow it down. Making the movement steady. So we're not just flopping our legs down, we're just releasing the knees and then the feet. Lovely. Amazing, Diana. And then take a lovely long rest. Allow your feet to flop out to the side. And still lying on your belly, can you take your arms down by your sides, palms facing down? And I'd like you now to try and keep your feet pressing into the mat, your pubic bone pressing into the mat. You've still got your long neck. And this time as you inhale, you're going to lift your chest and your head, and your arms are going to come out and off the floor as well, wide fingers. And as you exhale, you release down. Take a few like this, really pressing your toenails, pubic bone into the mat. You might feel your shoulder blades retracting down the spine. Energizing into your fingertips. Your arms are by your sides, palms facing down, long by the body. We're not pressing our hands into the mat. Arms down on the floor beside us, long. Some of you are, yes. It's better. Okay, and then resting there. And the last one in this sequence of prone back bends is a snake pose. If you're able to, take your hands over your lower back and interlace them. Now, it may be that that's just not going to happen, in which case just hold your elbows, maybe even just place your hands on your buttocks, that's fine. And can you actively roll your shoulders to your ears and roll them back again? And then on an inhale, draw your hands past your tailbone and see as you straighten your arms if you pull your chest a little bit off the floor. And then exhale, release. So we do this in stages. Roll the shoulders up and round, slide the hands past the tailbone, and the chest peels off the mat. And you might feel a nice squeeze of the shoulder blades and come down. Fantastic. And this is a pose where I would recommend staying for a few breaths up. Only if that feels right for you. So you're pressing the legs, the feet, the pubic bone into the mat. So all the movement is in the upper body. And you use your hands squeezing together to draw you. Lovely, Diane. Don't overdo it. I'm leaving you to experiment here. Don't force anything. You might still be moving in and out, or you might have decided to stay for a few breaths. And then everybody, hands under the head, have a lovely rest. Just feel sensation in the back of the body. The quality of your breath. From here, slide your hands by your ribs and gently ease your way to all fours. And we're going to do things a little bit differently here. We're going to do things a little bit differently to come into downward dog. I'd like you to ease your way back onto your heels. You get a little bit of a toe stretch. You can even sit on your heels. And then replace your hands down in front of you. Not too far away, quite close. And I don't want you to really press into the hands. I want the focus to be on the feet. You might want to watch me first. We've never really done it like this before. You're going to lift the knees and then peel the bottom away from the heels, lifting your bottom up. Your heels can be off the floor. And then maybe straighten the legs, but maybe not. And then come back down again. So it's a lovely way Pete Blackerby teaches to come in and out of downward dog. It's much kinder. And he says not to push into the hands at all. We just support ourselves with the hands and the arms. And the focus is on the lower body. So can you move yourself slowly in and out of this way into downward dog? Keep coming back down. And you know what, rather than me over-instruct, can you experiment with moving your hands further away, moving your hands closer towards you, to see what it feels like. And you don't have to straighten your legs and bring your heels to the floor. And of course, if you love staying still in your downward dog, take a few breaths in your downward dog, that's fine. We don't have to be too fundamentalist here. We don't all have to only move. We can explore static poses or quasi-static poses. So I'll leave you to play around with that for a bit. I personally think this moving into downward dog is a lovely way of feeling into the backs of the legs without being in too much of a rush. Beautiful, Claire, lovely tilt of your pelvis. And see if you can make the movement. Oh, lovely, Teresa, that's beautiful. See if you can make the movements really slow and gentle. Nothing needs to be in a hurry. Come down to rest in child's pose whenever it feels too much. Yeah, and then everybody now come down and rest in child's pose of your choice. You could have legs, arms extended, arms around the body, hands under your forehead, and allow everything to soften. Notice the quality of your breath. So it's been a real treat for me to go to other teachers' classes who are usually too far away for me to go to, and to just be refreshed a little bit. It'd be good to have feedback from you, the little bits of what I'm bringing in our adaptations from other teachers, and it's just quite fun, really. Rather than just to say get into downward dog, to come into it that way is quite an interesting experiment. If you'd like to come back up and sit on your heels again, but with your feet flat for now, and take your right foot forwards, so that it's kind of more or less in, your toes are probably level with the knee, and then curl under the left toes. So it's a bit like you're going to start sprinting. You can take your hands out in front of you. So it's like I can't think of the right technical term, but like a sprint start. And again, with that same mindfulness, that same gentleness, feel the right foot nicely planted in the floor, but begin to take your weight forwards and lift your bottom into the air. And we're not looking to straighten the legs. And then we come back down again. We're not straightening the legs. If you watch me, I'm keeping everything really soft and bent to begin with. So we take it really gradual. So to raise your foot is really far too far in front of your knee. Bring it right back. Yeah, you can use bricks. So you start off with the right toes just shooting past the left knee. So you're not bringing the foot right out in front, you're bringing it by the knee. Exactly, and then you might find it easier. Lovely, and at some stage, you might find that your legs begin to straighten a little. It's a very natural way of coming into Parsvatanasana, pyramid pose. And at some stage you might like to stay. Maybe even walk your hands out in front of you, have a nice long spine. Feeling your weight equally planted through both feet. What I'd actually like you to make sure of here is you move your feet a little bit wider apart, horizontally, so then hip distance apart. And then bend a little in the right knee. Bring your hands to your hips and bring yourself up to standing. Fantastic. Now for Warrior One, I actually need to step my right foot a little bit further forwards. So you see how that works for you. So your back leg is lovely and straight. You're bending into your right knee as much as feels good for you. Let's lift up the arms and take a natural Virabhadrasana 1. Come to your breath. Your weight is equally distributed between both feet. Relax the shoulders. Maybe take your eyes up in between your hands. And take a few breaths now here. Lifting your pubic bone a little to engage the lower belly. Can you find stillness here? Take a breath in and then breathe out. Release your eyes to horizontal, hands down by your hips and straighten the front leg. I'm going to show you from the back. We're going to come back into Warrior One, but with an arm movement. So you can take your arms out wide, turn the thumbs down, and maybe you're able to bring the backs of your hands up to the backs of your ribs, fingers pointing either inwards or upwards. If that's just not going to happen for you, hold onto your elbows, absolutely fine. And we're going to imagine our arms like butterfly wings. So as you inhale, straighten the front leg and open your chest so that your shoulder blades come together and maybe your hands meet. And as you exhale, you bend into the front knee and you bring your torso forwards and your hands open. Lovely. So we come into that movement, rolling the shoulders on the inhale, straight leg. Maybe your palms meet in reverse prayer. And then gently rolling forwards. Bending the knee, palms are open. Wonderful. And just try this for a few breaths. Come into the rhythm. There's a lot going on. Lower body strength, core strength. And we're now working into the shoulders and the wrists. Keep the weight pouring equally through both feet. Okay, and then release. Let's just release. Stay keeping your feet where they are. Have a little shake of the wrists. And then bring your arms back into the version that worked for you, either holding onto your elbows, maybe now bringing your palms a little bit more together, if you can. We're just going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to fly. Can you make sure that your right foot is straight and lift the left heel off the floor? And then begin to pour the weight forwards. So all the weight's going now into the left leg. You're reaching forwards with your chest. You might stay on the tip of your left big toe, or you might float the leg up, bringing your spine and torso horizontal with the floor. And you can bend a little into the standing knee if you need to, and then float back the way you came. Have a little play. It's quite fun. And incidentally, if it's just really uncomfortable for you to do this with your arms behind your back, free your arms up. Imagine you're flying over a beautiful lakeland landscape or a landscape of your choice. Just a couple more goes. Fantastic. Lovely to see you, Caroline. Okay. What great balance, Diane. And then gently, both feet are on the floor. Can you bring yourself back down to where you came? Sitting with both feet flat, sitting on your heels. Amazing. Did you like that? Yes? You don't have to say yes. You could go like that. Diana, you're like that, okay. There's a lot going on. We're going to bring it to the other side. So now your left foot comes forwards. So remember, you're not placing the foot forwards like we'd come into a dragon pose. We're still sitting back on the heel as we bring the left foot forwards. Curl the right toes under. So you're on your little sprinter start. And then very delicately in your own time, begin to curl open. But we don't come to straight away, and we sit back down again. So it's so much kinder for our body like this. Whenever you get tired, just come and rest. Please don't feel you have to do everything I say. Fantastic. And you choose when you want to begin to straighten your legs out a little bit more. Until maybe at some stage, you'll stay now with your legs relatively straight for your Parsvattanasana. And it's great that some of you are using bricks. That's great. You don't have to have your hands on the floor. And feel the legs. And walk your feet slightly further apart horizontally so there's more space for your hips. And then bending a little bit in the left knee, bring your hands to your hips and come all the way up. And arrange your feet as feels right for you. I need to step my left foot forwards because I like a slightly wider stride for my warrior one. And then bend into that front knee, but not too much. Little lift of the pubic bone, and then lift your arms up for Virabhadrasana 1. Only take your eyes up if that feels right. And can you feel the weight through both feet, not just through the front or just the back foot? Soften the shoulders, soften the eyes, and breathe. Take a full breath in. And then slide your eyes back to horizontal. Straighten the front leg as you bring your hands to your hips. Well done. So you know what's coming now. You choose your version with the arms. You might be holding onto your elbows, backs of your hands on the backs of your ribs. And we start both legs straight by lifting the chest, drawing the shoulder blades together, taking the head back. And then exhale, bend into the front knee as you bring your torso forwards and your palms will open. And then when you come back, straightening the front leg, see if your palms come closer towards each other. Take your time. Lovely, Karen. And I don't know if you notice, it definitely works for me that as I do this, I have far more ability to come into reverse prayer. This is when the palms come together, than I would if I came straight into that posture. Okay, and the next time you come up, releasing your hands, having a little shake. Both legs straight. Hello, Frankie. And then we come into the balancing version. So if you really hate the whole arm thing, keep your arms by your sides, otherwise choosing the right position for your arms, bending into the front knee. And as you pull the weight forwards, come up onto the right big toe. So you lift the heel now. And you know what? It's fine to stay here. Don't feel you've got to push yourself into the balance. But I do want to encourage your left foot to be straight and in line. And maybe at some point, oh, I'm so wobbly on the side, your right leg floats off the floor. And you gently come back and you move in and out of the balance. Be gentle and kind with yourselves. Remembering you can always release your arms down. Just leave you for a couple of minutes. If it gets too much, do something else. Really lovely. Can you find stillness and contact, whatever version you're doing? Lovely, Claire. Fantastic. And then releasing, just coming out, having a nice little shake, bringing your feet together. And facing the long end of your mat, and either jumping or stepping your feet wide apart now. So we're coming down with 2 forward folds. So we're doing this to create space in the pelvis after warrior ones, symmetrical pose. Toes can point in a little bit, heels can point out. Please be soft in the knees if you need to. And take a breath in, lovely lightness in the upper body, lifting out of the pelvis. And then breathe out, hinge and come down halfway, lead with the heart. Hands are on your hips. Take another breath in to find length from the top of your head out through your tailbone. And then breathe out to hinge as far down as you want. And choose what feels good for your hands. Do you want them right in between your feet on the floor? Or would you rather they were on your legs? Maybe hold onto your big toes. And take 5 of the deepest breaths you've yet taken, allowing the exhalations to draw you deeper. And all I'll say, because your legs are all different widths apart, is that the closer your feet are together, the harder it is. Yeah. Yeah, bend the knees a bit and allow the upper body to cascade out of the pelvis. Yes. Fantastic. Lovely, Liz. Take one more full inhalation and a long exhalation. Bring your hands to your hips. Strong in the legs, strong in the abdomen. Inhale, come all the way up. Nice and slow. Exhale here. If these forward folds kind of make you feel dizzy or you've got high blood pressure, I'd like you to come down now to child's pose. Otherwise, join me for another version, giving our upper body more to think about. So this time, arms are out wide, turn your thumbs down and bring your hands behind you to interlace them. So we've done this in various ways today. So we did snake pose. You roll the shoulders up, slide them back down and slide the hands down past the tailbone. And then inhale, lift the chest. Arms might come a little way away from the body. And exhale, hinge halfway down. This might be just nice to stay here, or take another breath in. And exhale, come down as deep into the pose as feels good for you. Please don't tolerate any pain in the shoulders at all. Fantastic. Beautiful, Catherine. And take 4 more deep, deep breaths. One more full breath in. And then exhaling, if your hands are behind you, just lower them gently to your lower back. And slide them down the back of your legs till they come to your feet. And then we're all going to just bring ourselves around into a gentle downward dog to transition back down to the mat. If you love your downward dog, take a few breaths and play around. But we're all going to meet very soon in a child's pose, knees wide apart. Arms either extended or hands underneath the head, or even wrapped around the body. And inviting yourself to soften fully, coming right back into your breath. And we have time for a breathing practice before Shavasana today, a little bit of alternate nostril breathing. So take your time when you want to, or if you want to. If you don't want to, please just come to lying down. That's absolutely fine. But if you want to, join me in a seated position of your choice. And absolutely fine to be on a chair. If you want to join in the practice but you feel that your nose is blocked, just come to the sensation in your nostrils with sensation, with your feeling, rather than closing and opening the nostrils with your fingers and thumbs. So you can have the left hand placed down on the thigh, maybe the thumb and the forefinger, the pads of those lightly touching. And we're going to use our right thumb to open and close the right nostril, and our right little finger and ring finger to open and close the left nostril. And just to say, I notice a lot in my classes that people they're pressing so hard that they kind of push their heads right round to one side. Try and keep your head straight. It's a very light touch. Elbow out to give access to the ribs and the lungs. And whether you're using your fingers or not, take a full breath in through both nostrils. And a long breath out through both nostrils. And then take a full breath in. And then lightly close the right nostril and breathe out through the left. And then inhale through the left. Close the left and breathe out through the right. And when you're ready, breathe in through the right. Close the right, breathe out through the left. And you continue with this rhythm, changing nostrils at the top of each breath in. And you're not trying to take deep breaths. Keep the breath feather light. And see what it's like to soften and open the back of your throat. And if you're not using fingers, you just imagine the air traveling up one nostril on the inhale, pausing in between the eyebrows before you exhale down the other nostril. And can you feel the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen? As you draw the breath in, your abdomen begins to flatten. And as the air releases out, the the diaphragm releases up and under the ribs. And taking a few more rounds if you'd like to. Next time you breathe out through the left nostril, letting it all go. Noticing how you feel. And you can choose to stay in a seated meditation or to come down to lying flat. Please make sure you're warm enough. And as you come to settle, if you chose a word for your intention, just allowing that to come back into the body. Noticing the rise and fall of a natural breath. And setting your attention free to wander around all sensations in the body. Giving yourself to the earth. I'm going to read a poem by James Wright called Milkweed. While I stood here in the open, lost in myself, I must have looked a long time down the cornrows, beyond grass. The small house, white walls, animals lumbering towards the barn. I look down now. It's all changed. Whatever it was I lost, whatever I wept for, was a wild, gentle thing, the small dark eyes loving me in secret. It is here. At a touch of my hand, the air fills with delicate creatures from the other world. And of course, you're welcome to stay as long as you like, resting or meditating. If you're ready to move on into your day, beginning to take a few slightly deeper breaths. And introducing your own little ritual of transition, your own little movements, whatever feels good to you. Until you're ready to maybe roll over to one side, eventually meeting me sitting, hands together in front of the heart space, eyes closed. And taking a few moments to simply observe how you're feeling in your body, your inner emotional, mental landscape. And a sense of the space out in front of you, space behind you, to either side of you, above you, and the earth beneath you. And taking a full breath into the heart space. And as you exhale, bowing your head gently and emptying your lungs completely. And allowing the next breath in to gently lift your head and open your eyes. Thank you very, very much, everybody. Namaste. Thank you for joining me.